According to a new transcript from the House Select Committee looking into the matter on January 6, 2021, White House staffers drafted a press release in December 2020 that would have called for the firing of anyone who disagreed with President Donald Trump's claims that the election was rigged after then Attorney General William Barr publicly refuted those claims. According to the deposition, the draft statement concluded, "Anyone that thinks there wasn't massive fraud in 2020 election should be fired." The draft statement was discussed during the committee's deposition of Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone, according to the transcript. It was never sent out and wasn't made public until Friday. He was informed by congressional investigators that they most likely acquired the statement from the National Archives, which provided records. The committee also said during the Cipollone interview that White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson previously testified that Mark Meadows gave her the draft statement, which was a handwritten note, after an Oval Office meeting on the same day Barr made his public comments refuting Trump. It appears that the statement didn't explicitly name Barr. The committee claimed that Hutchinson testified that she was instructed by Meadows to seek Cipollone's approval before the statement was posted on social media. The committee said Hutchinson testified that Cipollone's response was, "God, no." Cipollone said he had no recollection of the draft statement or the episode. The Cipollone deposition is one of nearly 50 additional transcripts released Friday night by the January 6 committee. The latest batch contained interviews with key witnesses, including Trump White House insiders and lawyers who worked for the Trump campaign. Trump's transportation secretary, "I wish he had acted differently," on January 6. Elaine Chao, who served as Trump's transportation secretary, said she had no recollection of discussing the 25th Amendment after the insurrection, according to a transcript of her deposition with the January 6 committee released Friday. Asked by congressional investigators if she had concerns about Trump's mental fitness, Chao said that she didn't go to many White House meetings by the end of Trump's tenure. Chao was careful not to be too critical of Trump in her interview. She said she had not met with him in some time. "By that time, I did not have personal contact with him," Chao said. "I did not go to the White House, there were no meetings, so I hadn't been in close proximity to him." Chao, who resigned on January 6, said she stepped down once she realized the full ramifications of the actions that were taken by some people and the results that occurred. Asked about Trump's conduct that day, she said, "I wish he had acted differently." Asked about the inner workings of the Trump White House, and who he trusted among his aides and advisors, Chao said, "I'm not so sure he trusted anyone." Chao said she does not remember talking to other cabinet members that day, even though Labor Secretary Eugene Scalia told the committee he spoke with her. Ivanka Trump turned over texts to Jan. 6 panel. Transcript reveals Ivanka Trump, who served as senior White House advisor to her father, handed over text messages to the January 6 committee, a newly released transcript of her testimony reveals. It wasn't previously known that she provided text messages to the panel, though video clips from her April deposition were featured during the committee's public hearings this summer. The committee's line of questioning did not delve into the contents of her texts, but instead veered into her father's cell phone habits, including whether he ever sent and received text messages. Ivanka Trump said she never exchanged texts with her father on any device. Sidney Powell, a conspiracy peddling attorney who helped Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, said Trump and his allies believed he couldn't have lost because of his large rallies and common sense, according to a transcript of her deposition to the January 6 committee released Friday. She said that was the consensus in the room at a White House meeting that she attended with Trump, just a few days after the election. She told the committee that Trump's then attorney Rudy Giuliani was also there along with White House aides, according to the transcript. "He wanted to know the truth," Powell said, referring to Trump. "And our general consensus was that the vast majority of people had poured out in support of the president. The rallies indicated that. All the information that we had indicated that. And the numbers that we saw on election night simply didn't jibe with common sense." She also claimed, math geniuses reached out to her to tell her that Joe Biden's victory was statistically impossible. The testimony shows just how paper-thin the fraud theories emanating from Trump's orbit actually were. Despite her assertions, there is no evidence that the outcome of the 2020 election was tainted by widespread fraud or vote rigging. Many of the conspiracies Powell has promoted about the election have been thoroughly debunked. During the presidential transition, Trump nearly appointed Powell as a special counsel to use the powers of the federal government to investigate her baseless voter fraud theories. Senior White House officials and attorneys vehemently opposed that idea, and it never ended up happening. Cipollone told the January 6 committee that it would have been a disaster if Trump made Powell a special counsel, according to a transcript of his deposition.